Do you have to default to MapReduce, or are there other ways to address data questions?
Oh, that was part of the conversation I just had in my talk. We're not big fans of MapReduce. We think that the scientific programming community, the weather forecasters, the nuclear simulators, and their message passing MPI have things to bring to the table too. So one of the wonderful things about Hadoop is that it allows you to spread your data across the cluster, but you can boot a network of processes alongside the data and use other techniques. It doesn't have to be MapReduce.
So you're not tied in.
You're not stuck, you're not required or constrained to only do MapReduce. That technique fits for some kinds of problems, but it's kind of serial, and the data flows from one step to the next. And anything that's iterative or something that has to converge on a criteria, it's actually a lot better or easier for the programmer maybe to have a model where you can repeat and iterate and loop.
Do you think Hadoop will eclipse traditional databases? I mean, is that a possibility?
I don't know. I think it's definitely the question of the week, what with Teradata Partners and IOD going on and all of that. Actually, I think that the two ecosystems are going to learn to live with each other, that Hadoop and then a relational database layered on top of or near that infrastructure is going to be a sweet spot for a long time. The possibility to collect all kinds of data that you haven't used before into a platform like Hadoop. I had this story that I think it's an anecdote, I wish I had pointed to it, of a clever guy in a real estate business who found a way to harvest the logs of the elevators. So the elevator stops on the 13th floor and then the 12th floor and then the 9th floor, but it didn't stop on the 14th floor this week. Boy, that guy's not going to pay his rent.
Okay.
So, the next kind of data format can come from anywhere. And this is the kind of thing that you want to encourage experiments with. Put that in your Hadoop cluster. Wait and show me the value of your idea, and then we might automate that data with more precision. Put it into a enterprise warehouse and put it into different technologies. So I think they'll coexist for some time.
How do you see Hadoop evolving? I mean, are we in a period of exuberance right now that may transition to something else?
I still think we're in the fun time of let 1,000 points, let 1,000 flowers bloom.
Enjoy it.
There's
right?
fantastic projects coming out every year, and it kind of really is the fun time of the evolution cycle when things start consolidating and the three big players are all fighting to polish the idea to perfection. Maybe that's when the community moves on and starts doing something completely different. But honestly, I do think that we're in the early part of the life cycle where community is very open to new ideas and try this, try that. They're not so predicated and fenced in onto their ideas got to be the one to win. So actually, it's a very fun time to be building new software.
So last question for you, and it's kind of a two-part question related to what you were talking about there.
Yep.
Do you think the flexibility of the tools that we have now is catalyzing this sort of period of data experimentation? And if it is this, is it the sole catalyst, or are there other factors involved here?
I think there's several things coming together at the same time. Hadoop has definitely legitimized the idea that big data computing needs a cluster. You can't do it on one or two servers. You need a farm of servers, and you don't really have to go to bat for that anymore. Most companies are standing up that resource as it's table stakes. You've got to have that kind of computing analytic platform in your infrastructure, or you're going to be left behind all the other guys who do have one of those. So, for one thing, it's not so early in the game that you have to go to bat really hard for the idea. Most people have the infrastructure or planning for the infrastructure. And so you've got this free space to try your experiment at low cost, low friction, and see if there's value in your idea. And then you can go and pitch to put it into production or to automate it in some more aggressive way. So I think of course, the open source roots of Hadoop allow anybody to try something new and to be successful. Two guys in a garage kind of thing. You don't have to be one of the big incumbents to make a new idea happen these days. Anybody can do it, and that's great too. And finally, I think the cloud, which is not necessarily related to Hadoop, but kind of is, the portability of data, the ease of collecting your data set with the internet and everything connected and Internet of Things allows these new, just like that rental guy, the example of even finding the logs of the elevators. Who knew that they produce a log file in a little flashcard and you could download it and queue them up over time and then do some longitudinal studies on them. So I think lots of things come together to make it such an interesting time.
Thanks for being with us.
Hey, you're quite welcome. Thank you for having me.